Hello everyone! Tonight, we're diving into one of the most haunting aviation mysteries in American history, the disappearance of Flight 739, a plane that took off with 104 people on board and never came back. No wreckage, no signal, no goodbye, just silence across the endless Pacific. It was March 15th, 1962. The world was on edge. The Cold War was tightening its grip, and the United States was secretly increasing its involvement in Vietnam. Among the passengers on Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 were 93 elite soldiers, all highly trained and bound for a top-secret mission in Southeast Asia. They boarded a Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation, a four-engine aircraft designed for long-range flights. The flight plan was clear: leave Travis Air Force Base in California, stop in Guam, and continue to Saigon. But somewhere between Guam and the Philippines, the aircraft disappeared completely and utterly vanished from existence. At 1:30 a.m., radio contact was lost. The pilot at last reported smooth conditions, no technical issues, and clear weather. The message was calm, routine, ordinary. Minutes later, silence, no mayday call. No emergency code. When the plane failed to arrive in the Philippines, panic set in. Within hours, the largest search and rescue operation in Pacific history began. Over 1,300 people, 48 aircraft, and 8 ships scoured an area of more than 200 square miles of ocean. Yet not a single piece of debris, no oil slick, no life jacket, nothing. How does a massive military aircraft carrying over 100 people vanish without a trace? The U.S. government's official explanation was inconclusive. They stated that no evidence was found to determine the cause of the disappearance. But as the days turned to weeks and the search yielded nothing, rumors began to swirl. Some claimed the plane exploded midair, seen as a bright flash by a nearby ship. Others believed it was shot down, possibly mistaken for an enemy aircraft. A few whispered darker theories that the plane never actually crashed, that it was diverted on purpose. Let's dig into that. Among the soldiers on board were men with advanced training in communications, demolition, and jungle warfare. Some reports suggest they were headed for a covert mission in Laos, a mission not publicly acknowledged at the time. The CIA had been operating in the region under deep secrecy, and these men may have been part of that hidden war. So what if Flight 739 didn't crash? What if it was intercepted, or even landed somewhere remote under classified orders? Families of the soldiers have long demanded answers. The U.S. government declared them missing and presumed dead, but no official memorial was built for decades. It wasn't until 2019, nearly 60 years later, that the families finally got recognition, when a private monument was unveiled in Columbia Falls, Maine, honoring the 93 soldiers who vanished. But why did it take nearly 6 decades for the government to even acknowledge them? A few investigators believe the flight may have been sabotaged before it even left Guam. Witnesses claimed the aircraft had refueled there and was delayed due to a maintenance issue. But others noticed unmarked personnel inspecting the plane. Could something have been planted aboard? Then there's the mysterious sighting reported by the crew of the STL Lenzen, a Liberian tanker sailing near the area where the plane disappeared. The crew reported seeing a bright flash high above the horizon, followed by 2 red glowing objects falling toward the sea. The Coast Guard initially considered this as possible evidence of an explosion. But strangely, that theory was later dropped from official reports. Even more bizarrely, there were no radar detections of an explosion, no distress calls from the pilots, and no signals from the plane's emergency transmitters. Everything just stopped. Could this have been a case of an experimental weapon or test gone wrong? In 1962, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union were conducting secret missile tests in the Pacific. Some believe Flight 739 may have crossed into a classified test zone and become collateral damage in a missile misfire. The theory is chilling, but it fits the silence that followed. Others have taken the mystery even further, suggesting extraterrestrial involvement. Strange lights in the sky were reported that same night by multiple sailors and islanders across the region. The military dismissed these as meteors, but witnesses insisted the lights were moving intelligently, changing direction, even hovering. For UFO researchers, Flight 739 has become one of the most compelling modern vanishings. A plane carrying elite soldiers, secret orders, and advanced communication gear suddenly disappears in a region known for mysterious aerial anomalies. But perhaps the most haunting aspect is what happened afterward, or rather, what didn't happen. The military never held a public investigation. No debris ever washed up on any shore, and families of the victims were given almost no information. For years, the relatives of those lost soldiers received conflicting updates. Some were told it was mechanical failure. Others heard whispers of sabotage, and some were warned to stop asking questions. One relative, the daughter of a missing soldier, recalled being told by a military officer, "There are things about that flight you don't need to know." What could possibly be so secret after all these years? There's also something deeply unsettling about the passengers list. Out of 104 on board, 93 were U.S. Army personnel, but 11 were civilian crew members working for Flying Tiger Line, a company with long-standing military contracts. In later years, documents revealed that Flying Tiger Line was occasionally used for covert operations, including CA transport missions. So maybe this wasn't a standard troop transport at all. Maybe Flight 739 was carrying equipment or intelligence far beyond what the public was told. Let's imagine this. A plane carrying covert soldiers, secret cargo, and potentially classified communication systems takes off during a tense period of global espionage and then disappears mid-flight over a strategic ocean corridor. It's not hard to see why so many believe this was covered up. To this day, no conclusive evidence has surfaced. The ocean keeps its secrets well, but the silence from official sources speaks volumes. The families were left to grieve in uncertainty, never knowing if their loved ones died in a tragic accident or vanished into a shadow mission that history erased. When we look back on Flight 739, we're not just looking at a mystery, we're staring into the deep intersection of war, secrecy, and human loss. We're reminded that sometimes the truth isn't lost, it's hidden. And maybe, somewhere deep beneath the Pacific waves, the answers still wait in a wreck that will never be found, or perhaps, the truth never went down with that plane at all.